Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Brand Scoop Live. I'm Heather. I am the owner and primary creative behind Aura Brand Studio, and I help small business owners with their authentic digital identities with branding and web design. And I have Carrie here as usual, but we have a very special guest here today, Miss Queen of Unicorns herself, Emily Reagan. Is here.
You did some sort of like sound effect there.
I know. I was not prepared. I don't have a sound effect. But, Emily, I think that you are well known in the online space, but for people who are new and might not know you, you want to give us a little, your elevator pitch of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I've decided to call myself a marketing mentor because I
think that's a good one.
Coach. I hate coach, but I'm also a practitioner. So my story is I've been freelancing as a military spouse and stay-at-home mom. And then I just started teaching my friends how to do the same work. I was always booked out because I had a rare skill set that was very in demand. And now I teach that same skill set, which is marketing services. So going way beyond the title of VA and having a specific job title. And I do the whole unicorn thing because I really think it's fun if we can own our, special, unique talents and passions and hobbies, what we're good at, what we bring to the table from our past career experience and education, and find a way to support other business owners. And so we become the perfect fit or the unicorn inside somebody else's business, which is fun if you don't want to be the face and you don't want to have the responsibility of being a CEO.
Yes. And it is via Emily that Carrie and I found each other many moons ago. And I know that, I think you have been integral in both of our businesses in just keeping us afloat in this online space. I think you do that for a lot of people. But we have you here today because it's July. Somehow it's already July. And we are doing this 3-part series about hiring experts because realistically, right, small business owners really need to get some team members in place or get some proposals from people for their fall, winter projects now.
Yes.
So I wanted us all to have the conversation around, hiring specialists versus generalists, because I think that you have a lot of insight into that. I think that I think all of us at one point or another were probably in this space more as a generalist and then shifted to specialist. So I think that that's right. Kind of one of those first pieces to understand when you're hiring experts into your small business is some of the things that you need to weigh when you are making those decisions. So do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your take on what a specialist versus generalist is when we're throwing around these terms?
Yeah. And it really kind of goes back to when business owners come to me and complain about their VA not getting results. And it's because they're not hiring somebody with the expertise and the skills. And as a contractor, we have to show up into somebody's business with skills already. If our clients are training us, we are being misclassified as employees. So I need to get that out straight. So we should be expected to go into someone's business and get the tour, and not be expected to be trained within. I want to know how you do things in your business, not the basics of doing my own work. Right. So I think a lot of people are unsatisfied with their teammates or complaining or, secretly disappointed because they're getting the generalist and they're at a point in their business where they really do need the expert. And how would I define that? The expert really knows how to get the outcomes. They come to the picture usually with strategy. They come at a consultant level as well. They have a lot of advice. They've worked with a lot of clients. It's not always time under belt, because some of us are coming from past jobs, like both of you, me too. We came with experience already. So it's not about quantity of time. but it's about level of understanding and being able to execute it. And then there's this like managerial part that can come into play too. And so when I see the generalists, what I see a lot of people who call themselves a VA, all these business coaches are like, hire a VA, outsource. And then they're just kind of dumping everything on one person, expecting them to be a superb copywriter, designer,
right,
funnel builder, like all these things that are insane. And yeah, can you find your unicorn? Yes, all three of us are, and all three of us could do that, but not everybody can. And so it becomes about unrealistic expectations. So I call it like the Frankenstein role, when you're expecting a VA who's like perfect customer service, admin, file management, and social media expert. And you're like, what the heck? That does not go together.
Right. And I think you bring up a good point of, even though all three of us have the ability to do other things than what we specialize in now, it doesn't mean that we should be doing them, or that like or even for the client, as a client, that you should be like paying a higher rate for someone who's in this specialist role to also be handling X, right? Like some of the, not that it's like, there is just this like different pricing structure, I think, that comes with that specialist versus generalist role definition as well. And like, I think that's something we can dive into further here, but like, I think that's one of the things that you're weighing too, right? When you're going to hire this expert into your business, it's like, do you want them to come to the table and be able to just execute that marketing funnel? And maybe that's a one-time project versus an ongoing role, but you have to understand that you are probably going to pay a higher rate for that, because they are coming in with an expertise to do funnel tip to tail, essentially.
Yeah. And sometimes we want to keep the work in-house. Like sometimes it might not be our priority, and it makes sense to, I don't know, maybe we're doing things quickly. It's not like the primary revenue generator. Like maybe it makes sense to have a generalist knock out some things for us and kind of be okay with it not being A plus. But there are some things in our business that have to be A plus. Like you're not going to pay somebody for a beautiful sizzle reel and have like a VA with limited video editing skills, like make that for you, right? Like a sizzle reel is like when you come out on stage and it's like, and it's like edited like far beyond my own capability. So I think it's you figuring out your priorities. Like, what do you need? What needs to be like a C average? What needs to be an A plus? What really matters? Because we can't prioritize everything. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think generalists also are going to take longer. They might actually end up costing you more because they might make a lot of mistakes. Like that's like a whole topic.
Yeah.
We have a recollection of an instance where we saw that happen, where blog was taking like 10, like a singular blog was being billed at like 10 hours.
Oh, I saw one at 25 once.
And it was like, no.
Right. And again, that's somebody showing up with not the right skills. And yeah, we're like, charge for your learning time. But at some point, you don't, like they are expected to come to the table with those skills. Sometimes we do need to ask our VA to go learn something a little different. Like, I don't know. It's such like a funny world here, because it just slows you down and it can cost you more at the same time. But at the same time, it goes back to now we're treating them like an employee, which is like a big flag.
Yeah,
that's right.
Carrie,
I had a discovery call this morning, and she was like, she gave me her task and she said, well, how many hours do you think it would take you to do this in a month? And I told her, and she kind of got this grin and she held up her notes. And this morning when she wrote down her interview questions and, that sort of thing up at the top, it was exactly what I said, because she said, I really thought, what do I think it would be? And she said, and then I kind of played with that number a little bit, because she said, obviously, you might be faster at some things than I am because you do it all the time, but I want you to have time to do other. So anyway, we were like right on track, but she was like, I also knew if somebody said 20% more hours or 20% less hours, that was a red flag for her, looking for her person, about what that really looked like. Because she said, if somebody, I said between 20 and 25 hours a month is for what her tasks. And she was like, I knew if somebody said, well, I probably think it's about 10 hours or to 15 hours a week. She's like, I knew that wasn't going to be. And I was like, no, then if that's what somebody tells you, run, bullseye, because that's not how that works, you know. And she was like, right, like that's what. So I really appreciated her knowing, right,
Yeah.
and taking the time to really think about, how long does this take me? What dollar amount is that worth to me to let go of? And then filter out who that person is, whether it's, you know, somebody very skilled and an expert in that, or just a general, let me throw all this at you and wait.
I think you bring up a good point here too, Carrie, where another big differentiator a lot of the time is going to be, if you're hiring someone who is going to be kind of like that multifaceted generalist role, that's the likelihood that you're going to be paying like an hourly retainer versus a flat project fee, or like what I do with a VIP rate or something like that, is like that's likely to happen. Whereas when someone starts shifting more towards these specialized roles, a lot of the time as a business owner, you have to have the expectation that they are going to have package rates, or like a VIP day, or they might still do retainer, but it might be like task based, or, you know, like Carrie and I have been doing the point system, where really they're buying a bank of points every month, and those points have a certain line item amount associated with them, so that gives them more flex. But honestly, I don't see that structure very often in this realm. But I think so that's something else that you kind of want to consider when you are going to hire these roles, right? Is like, and there's pros and cons to each structure. And that's actually the topic for our live next time around, is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into those structures and the pros and cons of them. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point of like, are you more comfortable paying like an hourly rate and having this block of hours, or are you more comfortable paying for a project on this one time basis, right? Because
and that's where I got to circle it back and say, you know, I do retainers. I track time for myself, but not for you, because just because it might only take me 20 minutes doesn't mean it doesn't have 45 minutes of value. So I said, it's going to be a package. Your deliverables are what you're paying for.
Good for you.
You are paying for these things to be delivered to you. Don't think of it as time. Think of it as, I mean, I can extrapolate it as time, and that's how we could open the door and she could follow that path with me. But the truth is, you're going to pay X number of dollars to have this task list handed to you each month. And you work the math however you need to, but the deliverables are really what you're paying for. And I think a specialist is more able to do that than a generalist is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm doing a project right now. I'm doing some landing pages. So sometimes I do work similar to Heather, which is fun. And I've also hired Heather to come help me in my own business. But I'm doing a series of landing pages right now, quoted per project at a project price. And really, as I think about that, my client's paying me to make decisions for her and just trusting me, because there, you think about like, it's not hour for hour. Like sometimes when I'm doing an additional graphic for a landing page, I can knock it out like that. Other times I'm like, this isn't quite right. I'm going to stew. And so she's really paying for me for that outcome of a beautiful page and to make all those micro decisions for her. And also kind of tie it into her marketing ecosystem at the same time. Like, I'm not just like, oh, this is my landing page. Like, I'm thinking about her business. I'm thinking about her call to action. I'm thinking about how can I pull in a YouTube video and like get clicks over there and like really improve her authority within this one page. And so it's not, I think generalists sometimes are more task driven. Like, this is what I'm set to do, you know, the task list, let's get it done. And then it becomes more hourly. And there's a price perception with this. Like, if you see a generalist priced at $20 an hour, like that tells you this person is like going to need to be told what to do, versus Carrie coming in and quoting a project or retainer or point system. It just like communicates something way different on the other side of that.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. And I've even had with VIP day, as I shifted to VIP day structure, right? I've had people be like, crunch the numbers based on that 8-hour day or whatever and be like, oh, it's like whatever, 150 an hour. And it's like, well, it's not just happening that day though.
Exactly.
And like, while yes, you are paying that amount of time because that's the only way that I can kind of like keep things from having massive scope creep. If you are paying for expertise and the fact that because I have specialized in this area and have done it many times over, done all sorts of extra training in it over the years, I can do it faster than what someone who maybe is just doing it for the first time or the second time or the third time could be doing it. And like you're saying, Emily, I'm also like, there's a lot more strategic thought that's going into it. There's a lot more understanding of best practice for this, that, and the other thing. And so to kind of bring it back to what you were saying before with sometimes the generalist ends up costing you more. If you have a generalist take a crack at your sales page or landing page, I don't know, whatever the project might be, for the lower cost, you might end up paying more in the long term to have it redone the right way. You could end up losing out on sales because of it, right? And I think, Carrie, I'm going to hand the mic to you here in a second, because I feel like sometimes there is this perception in the online space that social media management, like you can pay your friend's niece $7 an hour to do it.
Yeah.
And that's like, technically that's true, but
correct.
There's a big trade-off with making that choice.
That's right. That's right. Because there is strategy behind it. It's not just throwing stuff out there. It's not, just anticipate, like posting something and crossing your fingers that it goes viral. That's not what that world is. It's not. So, with my clients, I look at a 30-day window. And I try to look at a 3-month arc, but certainly every 30 days, like I have 6 buckets. Am I dipping out of all of these 6 buckets within that window? Am I making sure that we're highlighting what they're highlighting, what they're promoting? Are we educating? Are we entertaining? Are we engaging? Right? So there's all of these pieces and parts. And if you just wake up tomorrow and go, ooh, I didn't even post anything yesterday, or maybe even the day before, and I don't know what then you're missing the boat, because there are things, and not everyone sees everything you post. And so even being able to understand the strategy behind, well, it looks like we're going to promote this for the 25th of August. And I feel like, 10 posts leading up to that is a lot, but they're not going to see all of those. Right. But they all need to have, while it all is pointing to the same thing, it's all going to have a little bit of a different message and feel, because everybody receives differently. Right. And so it's, we laugh about toothpaste and deodorant. How many ways are there to sell toothpaste and deodorant? But everybody has a different thing that catches their eye, that they're like, ooh, now I want to try that. right? I have a friend that's always like, I'm always in on the new lotion and potion. And I always love that turn of phrase. I think that's so funny, but she watches things and I'm always quizzing her. Like, she'll be like, oh, I got a new lotion and you should try it. Okay. What made you buy it? I might try it, but like, what made you go, ooh, I'm going to order that? Because that's the gold. That's the gold.
Yeah.
And you're right. Your cousin's niece hairdresser that does it on the side may not have all of that in mind, is all I'm saying.
Right.
No harm, no foul, no talking smack. I'm just saying that there again is a reason why you want to make that purposeful and intentional.
Yeah. Okay, so let's, Emily, give us your thoughts on when you feel like, hello, Elizabeth Cruz.
Hey, unicorn.
Welcome. Give us your thoughts on when is a generalist a good fit for the client to consider that hiring someone who's kind of touching a broader scope, and then we can talk a little bit more about, being a generalist if you are in this realm and offering services.
Yeah. I think there's a couple ways to go about it. I'm really excited to process with you because I see a lot of people just rush out, feel like they need to get a VA and they're not quite ready. And then that first VA they hire usually doesn't work out, right? Because they don't have the systems, they don't have the messaging, they're in the startup phase. But I almost want to flip that on its head. And especially if I could go back into my own business and redo things and start with the specialist, really prioritize, because most of us are limited on our budget. We're focused on revenue generating first. And so I would get the specialist there. And I think there's just some things you can't expect your generalist to do. And that's copy and messaging, which is what Carrie was talking about with social. Social is not just posting, and it's design. It's the landing pages and the tech and all of that. I mean, some of us come to the table with some hacky skills, but for the most part, your generalist isn't going to be able to do that. And then the other one I always see people want is video editing. That's hard, although it is getting easier, but that's, probably not always a burning fire, right?
Yeah.
So it's the messaging and the design that I think are the crucial first hire. And then ads. Ads are another thing. You don't want someone messing around with your money and losing you money as they practice and learn. So those are probably three, get a specialist, get them one time, and then when you have the budget for the ongoing support, what is that for you? For me, the first couple of things I hired out was bookkeeping and invoicing because it just sucked up time, and then customer service because it sucked up time.
That's another big one, right? And I think you can put someone into a generalist role for that customer service if they are, people oriented, but probably have some other skills that could be kind of paired in with that. But I think about that all the time is, when I do a website for a person, they're frequently using that website for at least 3 to 5 years. Yeah. When I do a sales page, I've recently had 2 different clients that I did sales pages for 2 years ago tell me they're still using it, they're still converting. So if you think about it in that way, and Carrie, I'm about to come to you for another portion of this topic, but
I love she always puts me on the edge of my seat. You don't know what's going to happen. It is coming. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, that initial cost is going to be higher, but it probably is going to be a return on investment. You're going to see the benefit of that spend more long term. And then the thing that I wanted you to chime in on, Carrie, is I think we've both had the situation where we brought on clients for an ongoing retainer type relationship, and then in 3, 4, 5 months, they no longer things didn't pan out how they anticipated, and they have to cancel the contract because you really have to think about, if you're bringing on a long-term hire, you need to have that budget in place for a much more significant amount of time.
Right. And recognizing that those people are coming in to do that job, right? To do these tasks, to do these pieces of your business. No, yes, to make the business owner's life easier, but truly they should really look at that as, okay, I'm giving out 10 hours a week. Those are not now free time hours. Those are hours for them to invest in what they are doing in their business and doing well. So it's not the same. Like, it is not equilateral that they are like, oh, well, now I don't have to do social, so I'm gonna, nap 3 days a week. Well, no, give us those pieces and parts so that I tell people all the time, I do what I do so you can do what you do well. So you can do what you do better so that you can make money. I can't create new products for you. You're not paying me to do that, right? You're paying me to do these tasks to free up your calendar so that you can go do that.
Yeah.
And I think that is really, I don't think that always comes to mind. I think they see it as, oh, whew, okay, that's off my plate. So now what?
And they expect like immediate return on that. And they're not seeing it as more of like a time shift. It's like that whole 80-20 rule. Now you focus on the 20% that will make you the money or like give you the biggest boost. So
that's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of those moving pieces, but I think it's not just a quick one and done turnaround. I think it's not about learning, like Emily was talking about. You're talking about learning the processes. That's one thing. It's not about learning platforms. It's about learning the client, the product / service, and then implementing those pieces. But coming that expert's going to come to the table already ready. The only thing that we need then is some of those, like the meat on the plate, right? We know how to do the side dishes. We got it. But but those people need to provide that meat, but then go take that time to create more.
So I want to add to this. I'm at a point in my business where I'm ready for grade A. Like, we got things going. We got out of startup. We're in the growth stage. And now I'm going back and being like, that's a mess. That's a mess. And I'm proud of what I built and how I got there. Yeah. And I'm at the point now I need the grade A help, but I can't hire 25 different specialists. Like, I'm limited on my resources. So I have to be very, very particular. And so it is interesting. I do have a generalist on my team, Shannon. She's my marketing assistant. So she can help, but she's still within a marketing department. And she's helping me, promote my podcast. She's helping augment with social right now until I'm ready for a social media manager. And I'm not there. I don't have the budget, and that's okay. I'm getting there. And Shannon is like, I don't want to say the stopgap because I'm not undervaluing her services, but like, it's this middle ground, like getting there. And that's not her specialty, although she's interested in it and she does really well. And then one thing I'm noticing too is like, oh my gosh, I have a story. Like, I wanted help rewriting like my onboarding sequence. Like, I just don't have the time. And I made the mistake of giving that to somebody who I just assumed would get it. This was her lane and this is her department, but she's not a writer. And so those emails were like, they were atrocious. They're atrocious. Like, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I know, okay, now I'm ready for grade A. Like, we got it done. The framework is there. Now I need the grade A person to come in and really make it match with my brand and really communicate transformations and perfect it. And I know that it's not the generalist on my team to do that.
Right. And I think the other thing to keep in mind, and then I'm going to highlight, Natasha gave us a really good,
a great anecdote. Yeah.
That is the same thing with my house cleaners. They're here 3 hours at a time, but I'm not just sunbathing in the backyard while they are here. I'm using those 3 hours to do the other things in my life and home that they can't. Right. And I think that's a great way of thinking about it as the business owner, like being the leader in your business. Right. And then on the kind of the flip side of the coin, the other thing that you have to have in the back of your head as you're hiring experts in your business is you might bring on a generalist, and that person may like, so, you know, when I was first getting into this world, I came from corporate, but I still needed to prove myself, I felt like, in this space. And I was a generalist when I first started out, with a high level caliber skill set, but still I was undercharging drastically.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
Really, really bad. And at a certain point, I grew out quickly, very quickly, of that generalist role and realized what I wanted, where my skills truly lied, where I wanted to focus. And so if you're hiring on a generalist into your team, you also have to understand that there may come a day before you are ready for it to happen, that person is going to shift how they're doing things, shift how their payment structure is, shift what they're focused on. And they might not be a long-term solution.
Yeah, they're going to outgrow it. They are going to outgrow it if they have a brain and they're motivated and they like those challenges.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, the client might outgrow that specialist. Right. We just talked to somebody this week and they were
generalist.
Generalist.
Yeah.
They might outgrow them. She was talking about, she had a VA doing blogs, and she was like, but it can be hard because she'll write it for me. She was transcribing from a live, but there were some barriers. And she said, so then it takes me a couple of hours to go in and edit it and clean it up. And we were like, what do you pay? You know what I mean? So at some point, it both sides can outgrow the other, and you just have to keep a constant. I always laugh about like evergreen things. Nothing's really ever evergreen. Like,
right.
It's not like, oh, we built it, so now for the years to come, this is all we'll do. That's not how it works. And so on both sides of that relationship, that can be real. And we were like, okay, you are at the place and you have the followers and you have the business and you don't have the time to put in fixing someone else's work.
Yeah.
Right. So like, let's really look at your budget and what you've got and what you need, because those things may shift. You may need to give her some other different things more in her lane than what she has, and then reorganize who is doing what. And we just had that conversation this week. And that was so eye-opening, because if you don't know what they're spending their time on, these business owners, you don't know until you really get in and ask and see what they're doing, what they've delegated, and how that ultimately is working out for them.
Yeah. I like specialists to come in and augment my team too, because, we go into a launch, and I was just thinking of when Amy Porterfield launched her book, like they were hiring a bunch of people to come in and help promote the book and do all of that, because the team normally couldn't handle that. And so there was also an opportunity there when you think about, okay, the hours they're spending. Okay, here's my question. How do you know someone is truly a specialist? I know we talked about pricing and project rates, but I'm curious what you two do to position yourself as that, especially this day and age where it can seem like the 14-year-old social media manager is good, but like, how do you really know that she's good?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I think, and we kind of have this conversation in the work group a lot, in Emily's work group, where, job posts get posted and all of that. Like, I think generally a specialist is going to come to the table with examples of past work to share. Like, when you are hiring, don't have the expectation that a specialist is going to give you their resume, because they are a business owner. But as far as like receipts, I think that it's fair to ask for like contact information from previous clients. I think that that's a fair thing to ask for. I think portfolios. We could probably have a whole separate live about this trend of asking people to do work during the interview process.
Like a test project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't think that anyone who's been freelancing or working for themselves for a while is willing to like take that bait at this point, because we see time and time again that a company is saying, like, hiring for a position, ask to do this like test work, and then they ghost you in the interview process, and then you see that work out in the world. Like, they just stole from you,
I
essentially.
just feel like it's an employee thing too. Like my last PR director job, I had to take an AP style
Right.
writing I'm going to call it a test to prove that I had the skills.
Yeah.
But that was a job. That was a job.
Correct.
So
with like a 401k and benefits.
yeah.
Right.
But if you don't have a good portfolio and good examples of your work and testimonials, like I think you should do the test project. Like you need to prove yourself. But like you and me, nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Right.
I have a story for you. I had somebody a couple of years ago really unhappy in my inbox after hiring one of our own unicorns. And she hired her to do graphic design, probably social media. I'm not sure the whole extent. And she's like, well, her graphic design sucks. And she showed me, did I tell you all this story?
No, I don't think so.
She showed me the designs and they were horrible. They were horrible. I was so embarrassed, but I don't teach graphic design. It's so subjective, right? And it changes and like it comes natural to me. But like if that's something you need to develop, go develop it. I have resources for you. So I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that was really crappy. I was like, that was really embarrassing. And then I said, well, did you look at her portfolio before you hired her? Nope.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's on you. You expected her to be good and you didn't even look.
Yeah. Well, right. And like, I think, right, there are clues that can be found. Like sometimes when people are still early on and coming into this space, they're not going to have a website. They're not going to have a extensive portfolio. Or if they do have a portfolio, it might just be like test projects or just like, right. But they should also be indicating that those are not like, it's not actual work done for an actual client. Yeah. I'm pretty open about rates. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Emily? Like having your rates just like openly displayed on a website, or like waiting to share it until.
As a client though, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. As a client, I kind of want to know what I'm getting into. Like, I don't want to waste your time and mine. So I like a starting at price, you know, and then, yeah, if you need to upsell me, give me different options that could work for my business, I'm open, but I actually like them. Maybe not exact. Like, you don't have to disclose everything. Go in there and be able to estimate the project, but investment starting at blank. Yeah. I like that. And I like that I'm kind of like a shyer introvert. Like I don't want to just get on a call. Like it feels so awkward. So if I can avoid an awkward call where I don't like, I just want to go into as much information as possible.
Yeah. I think that's also like a really good clue, right? Like my intake form is like, I am asking the questions. And if someone's intake process is a little bit broad, or I say squiffy, a little bit, that might be an indication that they might not be coming to the table really understanding the ins and outs of this particular type of work, right? Because I want to know upfront, are you looking for branding? Are you looking for web design? Are you looking for a marketing funnel? Because I work with a lot of e-com clients now, I specifically ask, difference between web design and an e-com environment, because they're very different things. They're the same, but there's a lot more logistical going on in an e-com environment. And then down at the bottom, check off this is a call to understand if we would be a good fit to work together. This is an estimated starting price. Are you ready to make that investment in your business? Because I don't want to spend time on a call with you if you are not ready to do that. Yeah. And you shouldn't want to waste your time if you can't afford it. So, yeah.
Proposals are also a dead giveaway for me. And I look at a lot of them for newer marketing service providers, but when the proposals are really weak, They don't have a lot of specificity, deadlines, what's included, what's not included. To me, that's a big flag. Somebody doesn't really know what they're doing, and they might not be at the specialist level because they haven't done it multiple times.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place for somebody who's newer, right? Yeah. Like there totally is. I'm not dissing that, but I also don't want to go in like thinking, paying premium rates for someone who's not actually at a premium level, right?
Yeah. So on that note, when is the right time to be a generalist, in your opinion? So flip side, like when someone is coming into this space, when is that a good time, or like when is that maybe the approach to take with what you're offering? And also, since you work with a lot of people, if someone is hiring a digital marketing assistant for the first time, like what are the like going rates of that in 2024 for like a generalist?
Okay, I'll start with the latter. Usually admin VAs will be about $15 to $25 an hour. And of course, overseas could be even less.
Yeah.
And the marketing assistants I teach to start at 25 if they're new, usually between 25, 40-ish, you'll see that marketing. It's like general marketing department help. So they can take a couple different tasks for you. And I'll teach my unicorns to start with helping with the weekly email, helping produce a blog, helping post to social. But it's not high level strategy, helping produce the podcast, maybe engaging with the Facebook group and, keeping that going. But it's not like full on managerial responsibility. And then after $40 an hour, maybe 40 to about 70, you start to see the managerial roles come in when you do have a podcast manager, a affiliate manager, maybe even an OBM, an online business manager, community managers. They'll be above 40. That above 40 communicates that like you're getting that extra level of experience and project management, right?
Yeah.
So, and then they might even be managing an intern, a VA, a marketing assistant within that role, depending on who's on the team, or maybe it's like community ambassadors or something. And then above that, I usually say 75 and above, you're getting the creative specialist, like copywriter. You don't always see the hourly rates, but I just say that to kind of give you an idea of like what you're paying. But like tech VAs, designers, video editors, they should be kind of above that rate. So remind me what your first question was, because my brain.
If someone is coming into this space as a digital market, or like they want to get into the digital marketing assistant, so they're not hiring, they actually want to be a teammate for someone. When does it make sense for that person to be in a more generalized role, or like have that kind of as their offering?
Well, it's funny because both of you came with previous marketing agency experience. Both knew what you were doing, but you still started there to kind of understand what was going on and what are the needs and gain clarity. But you both did really well of moving out of it fast. So for somebody who's not already coming with super specialized skills, like I like that department because you get a taste. It's like a buffet. You get a taste of things, figure out what you like and what you're good at, because you can't sell services you're not confident and competent in. Right. So you just don't have to stay there forever. Or maybe you do. Maybe you like the variety, maybe it's working for you. Maybe you are doing that for one dedicated client. You're not always context switching. So then the question is, when am I ready to be a specialist? Which I love. I'm thinking about my own journey. I'm like you all. I came to the table with PR skills, but I kind of did more marketing. So I got to bring that with me. If I could go back in time, I should have just specialized in PR. Like, what was I thinking? I didn't really know that it existed. I mean, it's 2009, like different world, hindsight.
Different planet, honestly.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I just felt lucky. I kind of stumbled into Pinterest blogging and like I went that way and then like kind of came back to PR. I'm like, oh wow, I could have like shaved off 10 years if I just like did PR. But it paid off. Like the marketing is fun for me. So I was inside a client's business and just, gaining that clarity of like, what was I good at? What was I getting results in? And what were the tasks that I was waiting till Friday to do for either time or like drudgery? Right. And then kind of work my way within her business doing the things I loved. And you see that happen a lot. If you get with a client who, like me, I'm in that growth stage, like there's a lot of opportunity to get in. I call it the marketing mailroom, and then like work up and own something. So for me, I've always been really good at content. It's like very much related to PR, right? I was really good at content. So I moved up as a content director. But I also had this funny little moment. And I remember, I think I told you the story. I went to the Copywriter Club's conference, right?
Yeah, I think that was right around the time that we like all came together.
Yes.
In your realm.
Yes. And it was right when COVID was happening. The pandemic was happening. And I just like snuck off to San Diego, and I probably shouldn't have. But I had this moment there where I felt like a huge sense of imposter syndrome. And I'm like around all these copywriters. I have writing experience. I'm not quite calling myself a copywriter, but look at the work I'm doing. I'm doing it. Yeah. And so I remember Rob Marsh at a bar that night was like, I now claim you a copywriter. And I'm like, oh, and I almost needed that outside validation to do that. But what I would tell anyone else is just go for it. If you feel in your gut like you're doing the work, no one like Rob Marsh is going to magically appear and give you that title.
Materialized, like.
And I mean, he's like the shit. He's like a huge famous copywriter. Like that's not going to happen. Yeah. So it's up to you to claim the title and go for it. And I think you're ready when you have done the task a couple times, when you find yourself nerding out on like, what's the step before? What's the step next? Like, how are different ways to do it? When you can get into multiple clients' businesses and think, like that's a sign that you're ready. And it's not just I did it once and now I'm this. I mean, we see a lot of that with like the freaking business coaches out there. But I think if you've done it a couple of times, like you're golden, like go all in and then do the training and whatever you need to build the confidence behind that.
Right. And two, you bring up a good point, not only doing it a few times for the client, and like obviously your pricing at that stage is probably going to be lower, and then you can slip right, like that's what I did.
Yeah.
But also you can practice all you want on your own. Like
your own business.
You can, or like if I don't know, I'm just thinking of like, funnels and websites and tech and all of that. Like most of the time you can do a free trial of something, or you can like, I build dev sites for myself all the time because I actually enjoy doing that work. And I'm obviously doing that as my primary offering at this point, but I still play around with it in the background. But like, just real quick, like origin story wise, I was working in corporate marketing, but it was all the way back in 2016 that I did my first online course for WordPress website design. But it took me until 2020 to actually have the confidence to, because at that point, way back then, I was like, I'm pretty sure I can do this. I'm pretty sure I'm good at it. But I had no understanding of how to position myself as that. And so that's where starting in the generalist zone in the online space, starting to do some of those sales page projects, like not a full-blown website right out the gate, but like gave me the confidence to be like, yes, I can niche into this. Yes, I am good at it. Yes, I have learned the things that I need to and continue building upon those skills.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what else gives you the confidence? When you see other people doing it and doing a shitty job.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wait a second. If you're having those little moments, like I could do that better. And I don't mean like putting them down, but like that is a hint that like you're on to something here and that maybe you should own it.
Carry yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white man, ladies. Like for real though.
Yeah.
Like we see it all the time. Like I'm sure we've all experienced it. I've seen, specialists come into a business in some other area. And then I start going, does this person actually know what they're doing?
Yeah.
And then you have to be the bearer of bad news if you love and respect your client, which I think we all usually do.
But on the flip side, though, this can stop a lot of service providers from going all in because they don't feel like they know enough. And I mean,
Yes.
speaking to myself, like I do a lot of landing page design and I can make things really pretty and I can use a variety of tools and tactics. And I'm not a coder. And so deep down in my head, that little voice is like, but someone else could do this better. Like Amy Porterfield's designer could probably do this better. It would probably take her 3 times as long and she would charge 10 times as much. And so I have to go in with the confidence that like I am delivering a value on that project management triangle. You're getting high quality, you're getting it pretty quickly. And like, that's great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they're right. And I think this conversation has really highlighted that, like, there are enough different clients and different businesses and different business structures that everyone can like play a role in someone's business at whatever level that they're at, right? And the same thing, like the opposite for a business owner, like you will likely find the right fit for you. Now, whether or not that's like a long-term thing or a short-term thing, like that's just something you have to like, kind of like keep in mind as you're making these decisions.
And sometimes that generalist will show you, wait, actually, this is what I need. And if you do have to outgrow the generalist, like they will show you that when you're like, oh man, these emails to my own community really suck. Like I actually do need somebody who can do this. And this is more important to me. And that's okay. It's okay to let that person go and invest in the help, that grade A help that you need in that moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks, Natasha. Everyone say hi to Natasha.
Yay! Cheers too.
But yeah, anything else to add? So Emily, from is there anything that you are specifically working on that you want to tell people about right now?
Well, I am getting ready for my launch of the Unicorn Digital Marketing Assistant School. So we'll be opening again in October. So we're doing some of the prep work for that. And that's my live training to teach a virtual assistant how to double down, get paid better as a marketing assistant. And I love marketing because it's the most flexible and it presents itself easily into these project rates that we talked about. So I teach the skills there. And to get ready for that, it's like planning my pre-launch content. I'm like thinking about social. I've brought in an ads manager. I brought in a case study copywriter. And so each launch, I'm kind of focusing on new things and kind of reusing what the specialist last year did and just like building it. And that's kind of my longer term goal there too. And if anyone's listening and does want the marketing generalist, it's not Carrie, it's not Heather for this type of work, but that person who can work within your marketing department and support you. If you go to hireaunicorn.com, we'll share your job with lovely ladies like Winter here and Elizabeth in the chat, and they can jump on that. But we do have creative specialists in the group too. Heather and Carrie are in there. You guys like dominate with social and funnel building and e-commerce, but maybe you need a video editor. Maybe you need a membership manager, a launch manager, affiliate manager. We have some of those unicorns as well.
Yeah. And I think the one great thing about your work group, Emily, is we do kind of understand, because it is a very helpful, open community, like everyone kind of starts to understand the other specialties that people are focused in or have experience in. And so a lot of the time we do have our clients coming back to us and saying, I need a video person, video editor, who do you know? And we can quickly and easily point them back to someone that we know, right? And so that's the benefit too, I think. Not that we always know the actual skill set of everyone that we might refer from the group, but like,
it's a good start. It's a good start sometimes.
Yeah. And I love that as a specialist. I think that is something huge I always try to bring to the table in that discovery call. I don't do video editing. I don't want to. I hate it. It makes me want to poke my eye out. So, but I can send a message and get a hold of a whole group of them for you quickly. You know what I mean? Like behind me is a whole room full of unicorns that will pick up those pieces and specialize in other things that I can bring to the table. And I think that's important for people to hear, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I love that about our community, because I don't do it. I don't want to do it, but I know people who will. I know people that can build that funnel. I know people who can build that site. I know people who can do that code. And that makes it really great, because I think it's wise and it's brave to say, I don't do all the things exceptionally. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But what I bring to the table for you is not only what I do, but like I said, referrals for people who do that really well.
Yeah. Specialists, you have to have that boundary, you have to. So it's so nice to have, somebody who's a sister related service, SEO, graphic design, customer service, because we outgrow that, and it's not going to help us do our best job if clients try to throw that at us.
Yeah, totally.
They try.
They do try. All right. Well, thank you for, hanging out with us. It's been fun. Thank you for everyone who gave their thoughts and feelings in the comments. Obviously, keep posting if questions come up. Anyone who's thinking about hiring, if you have additional questions, pop them into the comments. We'll point you in the right direction. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their Friday afternoon. Thank you again, Emily, for
Thanks, Em.
Thank you for having me. Invite me back. I'll come.
Yay. Okay. We all heard it.